All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today we are starting off economics. Okay, we're going to be going over several things. Okay, now before we begin, you should have two papers. One is the worksheet, that looks like this. Okay, and the other one is another paper that says wants and needs. You should have that. If by chance you don't have it, if I didn't give it to you, or if I ran out, uh, please make sure that you get like a regular sheet of paper and then put wants and needs. And I'll tell you more about it when we get there in this lesson. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the objectives. So we're going to analyze how scarcity plays a role in an amount produced and the price. Okay, we're going to examine what is truly a need. What is a need? And people have a, how do I say it, like they kind of blur the line between a want and a need. Okay, and then we're going to create an argument on which of the three factors of production is the most important. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So here's your warm-up picture. As you can see on top, it says the Great Economic Super Bowl. So you see two countries are right there. The first question says, what do you notice about the US and the China team? So what do you notice? Besides one is red, one is blue, things like that. Now, what do you notice about the teams? Okay. So then the second question says, what do you think this artist is trying to say about our economic policy? What is the US, based off this picture, what is this artist trying to say about the US economic policies? Okay. So write your responses, pause the video, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so economics, the thing is, it deals with three major things, okay? Production, consumption, and the transfer of wealth. Those are really the three vague things that encompass economics. The production, the decisions that go into what to create and things like that. Consumption, people, we buy, we take, right? Things. And then the transfer of wealth. So for those of you guys who were in class the very first day, that Monday or Tuesday, you already know this, but the people who would miss those days, basically economics is not about how to make $1 million, $1 billion. That's not what it's about. Those people who have that million and billion, typically they already have a really good idea of how the economy works and things like that. But that's not what economics is all about. It's about choices. Why did we make this item? Why did we buy that item? And then it comes to the money, the transfer of wealth. Where did the money go? Why is this business more successful than this one? What are the factors that play into that role that makes this one successful and this one fail? Okay. The next thing is, you're going to hear me say this quite a bit when we talk about economics, is scarcity. There is not enough of everything for everybody. Okay? If you really think about it, think really hard. Do we have enough food in this world? No. If we did, people wouldn't be starving to death. Gold, silver, platinum, even our oxygen. Believe it or not, if we like cut down all the trees, burn them, and basically destroyed all the algae and all that stuff, basically anything that turns carbon dioxide into oxygen, we won't die right there and then. But as time goes on, yeah, we're going to suffocate because nothing's converting that carbon dioxide into oxygen. And that's what we use. Every time you exhale, you exhale carbon dioxide. That's the refuse, the stuff your body's refusing. It's getting rid of that, the excess stuff. That's what the thing is. Even our oxygen is not unlimited. We're limited on it. Okay. And the thing is, we're going to hear this again. Just like scarcity, you're going to hear this even more. Needs and wants. There is a big difference between a need and a want. Really, there are three essential needs. Food and water, okay, clothing, and shelter. Now, here's the thing with this. Food and water is basically that. Food and water. Now, food does not mean Taco Bell, you know, Popeyes, things like that. No. Food, what they mean is like stuff like grapes, um, oranges, cauliflower, things like that. You know, meat from a cow, steak, you know, maybe not the best type of steak, but just a regular steak. Okay. It's when you say Taco Bell, McDonald's, this really elegant restaurant. No, that's where it becomes a want. You don't need the luxury. You just need something in your stomach. Even something like pizza. That's a luxury. Okay. So food is the basic stuff that comes off a tree and things like that. Potatoes, it's a root. You know, the basic. What is so if you say, oh well, McDonald's food, what's the French fries made of? Potatoes. Well, see, that's the thing. That would be the food. What about the hamburger? Where'd that come from? Cow. See, that cow, that meat from the cow. Kill it. You don't get a patty right there and then. No, you get like a meat, like a chunk of meat, steak. That's that's that they're talking about. Okay, and drinks, water, stuff like that, just regular water. So vitamin water and soda, Gatorade, that's luxury. That's a luxury. Okay. Clothing, again, same thing. Brand names, no. You can get a regular shirt like this, just a standard cotton shirt, like $1, at Walmart. That's where I got this one from. So that's the thing. You don't need the brand name when they say clothing. Okay. Same thing with shelter. Do you need a mansion? No. What about a house? Maybe. Even then, that might be considered a luxury. Something like caves, a shack, man, something you put up yourself. Fine, that's a basic need. Something to protect you from the elements. Okay. Basically, that's the essential needs. Everything else is a want. Everything else. Your phone, you may think, oh, I can't. I know I need my phone. No, you don't. No, you don't. That's a luxury. If your phone dies, you don't all of a sudden go, oh my God, I'm dying, and start biting on your wrist. No, you don't do that. You don't do that, right? What do? Charge your phone. It's gonna be all right. But see, that's the thing. If without water, after 3 days, you die for dehydration. So and food. If you go over a couple weeks, I think several weeks, you can die from that. If your phone is taken away or it's destroyed and you don't have a phone for a month, you're not gonna die. You're gonna be okay. Okay? So again, that's how you should look at it. Now we get to the part of producing consumers. There are the people who make things, and everybody is a consumer. Even the people who make things are consumers. You want to know how? Here's a quick thing. Even if you think farmers, well, you're talking about picking, getting stuff from trees and, like a potato is a root from the ground. How is a farmer a consumer? Well, they need to eat too. The stuff they use to plant and things like that, tools, they have to buy that. So they're consumers too. When you make a bed, you need wood. You need this, you need nails. So you're buying those things. So even producers are consumer. Not everyone makes something, but everyone buys things. Okay, so make sure you remember that because more likely it will be on a test, like a true or false. Is everyone in the world a consumer? Okay. Here's your first question. Would you consider electricity as a need? Okay. There's some people who argue now saying that electricity should be added on to the essential needs. It should be food and water, clothing, shelter, electricity. What do you think? Yes or no, and why? Don't forget the why. Okay. So write your response, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we come to that part with the paper. It should look like this. If you don't have this paper, a regular line sheet of paper, a computer paper, any type of thing, okay, even if it's from a notebook, that's fine. You're going to write down on one side, you're going to divide it in half. You're going to have one part want, one part need. And basically think of it like this, the needs. What are the needs you need to survive? Again, it should be very little. Okay, remember, we're not talking about luxury things. We're talking the basic, things that you need to survive. Like if you don't have it, in a matter of days, you are literally going to die. Okay, that type of stuff. Then the other side is the wants. Think of the wants as like a Christmas list. Right? What do you want for Christmas? I mean, that thing should be filled up in like a minute or two. It should, because you guys want things all the time. So think to yourself, what do you want? Write it down, and then think on the other side, what is a need? What things you truly need to survive? Okay, so go ahead, write your responses on that, because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so if you look at this little chart, this is a great chart. On the top, you see unlimited wants. Everybody wants everything, right? If you are able to get everything, you would get everything. If everyone said this is for free, you would take it. But we have limited resources. So that comes to scarcity. People want everything, but we don't have enough material to make everything. So then comes the scarcity part. Then comes the choices. The people who make things, the producers, they have to ask themselves 3 questions. What are they going to make? How are they going to make it? And who are they going to make it for? So what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Excuse me, sorry about that. The first question, what to produce? What to make? What should we make? Should we make, these little, let me grab one over here. As you can see in the background of me, these little pop figures. Should we make these? Well, maybe not. Should we make life support systems? Should we make cars? I mean, what is it that you think you guys what to make? The company. And then where are you going to make it? Are you going to make it here in this country? You going to make it somewhere else? It doesn't make sense to be selling boats if you're in the middle of the country, right? If you're in the middle of the United States and there's no water around you for thousands of miles, it wouldn't be a good idea to sell boats there, right? Maybe cars, tires, things like that. That's probably best. The next thing is how to produce. How are you going to make this item, whatever you choose to do? Now, when they say how are you going to do it, how are you going to make it? Are you going to make a bunch of them, or are you going to make a little bit of them? Okay. So as you see in my background, there's those little pop figures. They make a ton of them. And some of these you can find anywhere. You can find them at Walmart, Target, Walgreens, Hot Topic, Box Lunch, Best Buy. I mean, all kinds of places you can find them. But then there's some that are only made in a certain amount, only 100 or 1,000. So your company, are you going to make a bunch of stuff, or are you going to make just one? Just it's a small amount. Like Pepsi, they make a ton of soda. They put it and they sell it everywhere. Whereas somebody who makes yachts, hey, they're not going to be making a ton of yachts because not everyone can afford a yacht. So they make very little. That's why their prices are so high. And then you come to the second part of this. Who are you gonna hire? Are you gonna have more people and less machines, or more machines and less people? Because you have to ask yourself, what are you doing? Whatever you're creating, would it be best to have machines do it or people do it? And then you have to look into what's more cost efficient and things like that. So that's where the argument comes in, which we're going to be talking about later on, when people say, "Oh, that if these minimum wage goes up, they're going to replace you with machines." No, you're going to find out later on that with companies, the whole point of business is to make money. And if they can save hundreds of dollars by having a machine instead of a person, they're going to do it. It don't matter if the person gets paid minimum wage, dirt poor, nothing, or whatever. They will put a machine in to do a human's job always. If it can do the same thing and even make it better, faster, they'll do it. Okay. The next thing is, whom are you making this thing for? Who is your target audience? If you're making toys, are you making toys for adults or toys for kids? If you're making um, like wigs, are you gonna make wigs for guys or girls? You know, so that's the thing you have to look at. Yeah, see, at this thing, whatever it is it specific or is it for everyone? Soda again, it's really supposed to be for older people, but I mean, I've seen little kids drink sodas. I've seen 3-year-old drink a chug of soda. So again, it's for anyone. But there's some things, like you know, um, I don't know, like a pool table, Some people can't afford pool tables because they're expensive, but some people can. So those are specifically made for people who can have the space, who want one, and things like that. You know, some people just say, I don't have room for that kind of stuff. That's okay. You know, and then it comes to the bottom part. Is that pool table a want or a need? You know, and if you notice, really, if you watch TV and stuff like that or listen to the radio, you really don't hear much commercials on grocery stores. Why? Because they know if you're hungry, you need food, you're going to come to us. So they don't really advertise all too much. Now, fast food places, yeah, they're going to advertise like crazy because the thing is, there's a lot of fast food places. And again, fast food, it's a want. They want you to want their food, what they're selling. So they're gonna have, whatever you want. Tacos at a burger place, sure. You know, yeah. So it all depends on you, the consumer. All right. So here's your second question: is there something right now that you want, but it's gonna cost either you or your parents a lot of money? If so, tell me what it is. Right now, if you're like, no, there's nothing I want right now that's really expensive, then think about in the future. 5, 10 years from now? What is something you feel you're going to want, but it's going to be costing you a lot of money to get? Okay. Think about that. Write it out. Okay. Pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So, in order to produce something, in order to actually make things, you need 3 things: land, capital, and labor. Okay. Now, what does each of these things mean? Well, land is natural resources, not man-made, basically nature. Okay, so a farmer, hey, they need that ground to put the plant in so that the food can grow, all right? Even factories need land, right? You don't see a factory floating in the sky. No, they don't do that. You need land to have a factory, to create whatever you're creating, okay? The next thing is capital. These are items used. Okay, so like these little pop figures behind me. I know I keep bringing them up, but they're right here. We're in my pop room. Um, Even then, the machines, the tools, the equipment that's used to make these things, to create the form of the heads and bodies, things like that. They need that. Um, the plastic used to make those things. The paint. All that stuff. That's capital. All that stuff is capital. Okay, so you might hear this term again when we talk about more about getting to more into the business aspect of economics. You'll hear me use the word capital. Okay, that's what we're talking about, the items used. The next thing is labor, people. Now, when you hire somebody, if you have a business, it's never a good thing to hire your best friends because the thing is you're hiring them for because of loyalty and friendship and things like that. When in reality, you should be hiring people because of their skills, their effort, and their abilities. You shouldn't hire somebody to um, carve out a piece of stone if he's your best friend. He has no skills whatsoever in that. You'd want the best person as possible to create that because that takes skill, a steady hand, things like that. And if you're hiring your friend just because he's your friend, you're going to lose out on a lot of money. And if you fire your friend, well, there goes your friendship. Lots of times. That's what happens. The next thing is entrepreneur. These are the people responsible for the change in economics. Typically, these people are the ones with the ideas, the inventors, things like that. Okay, so people like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, they were inventors, entrepreneurs, Steve Wozniak and things like that. These guys did stuff with computers and the computer system blew up, you know, just look where it is now, you know, iPhones and tablets and things like that, you know, all that stuff. It's it's grown, you know. The next thing is production is creation of goods and of services. Okay, if you have a business and you're creating something, you're creating some type of good or service, right? Whether it's we're creating again these pop figures or a service like lawn care, taking care of elderly people, whatever, things like that. Anything that's working with people, that's a service. Okay. All right. So the next part is gross domestic product. This is basically what the country has made a year. Okay. You'll hear me say this once in a while, GDP, or I'll just say it out, gross domestic product. That's what it means. How much or what a country has made in a year. The next part is analysis. Usually companies have analysis people. These are the guys who basically say how well a company is doing, how well a state is doing, or a country is doing. And what they look at is the numbers. They basically crunch numbers. What they've sold, what they haven't sold, were they profitable, not profitable, what do people think, the likes and dislikes, all that stuff. They crunch those numbers like no one's business. The next thing businesses do, typically when they have like a stockholder meeting, they have explanations. They explain to the people how a company is doing, whether it's good or bad, and why is it going good or bad. So last year, a lot of companies which were doing stuff in the stock market were basically saying, "Hey, we're doing pretty bad because of COVID. We're not making as much money because of COVID." Or on the opposite way, we're doing amazing because everyone's at home and is shopping online. It's all because of COVID. Okay, that's the way it is. The next thing is prediction. These guys basically take the numbers from the analysis people and say, we expect in the next 6 months, next year, we expect the things to be going better or we expect them to go bad, you know, based off what we're seeing from the numbers and things like that. When they say things are going to get better, it's kind of a broad, and when they say bad, it's bad too, it's a broad estimate. But sometimes they do say, we're going to go up 50%. We're going to be up 100%. That's really giving a specific number. And that's where some of these people, they kind of close the window on themselves. because they basically saying it's like, oh, things are gonna get better. Well, better could be anywhere in here, but they're saying, hey, we're gonna be 50% better. Well, see, now that's this much. Oh, we're gonna be 100%. Now you basically say you're gonna be, this is your room for error. This little spot right there. You know, you're not giving yourself much room. So that's the only bad thing about predictions. If you give specifics, people hold you to it. So here's my question to you. What is the point of making a prediction if the odds are in your favor that you'll not be right? What are the odds? Or why is the point making a prediction if the odds are not in your favor that you're going to be right? Even if you say things are going to get good, you have a 50-50 chance that things are going to get good. And if you say, oh, it's going to jump up, 25%, now you've lowered the gap this much, So why do you think they even make predictions if at best they have a 50-50 chance? Okay, so pause the video, write your response, but we're going to move on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we come to the exit ticket. Now what I want you to do is this. Pick one of these two exit ticket questions. The first one says, name a want that a lot of people confuse for a need. And then why do you think people confuse those two things? So again, if you forgot what a want and a need are, go back to that section in the video and look that up. Okay, so what is a want that a lot of people confuse for a need? Like, oh, I need this to survive. And you're like, no, you don't. That's a want. You need these three things. That's a want. Okay. The next thing is, in what ways is scarcity, when there's not a lot of something, in what way is that a good thing? That there's not enough of the resources? In what ways could that be good? So this one requires a little bit more thinking, a little more, using your creativity. But I believe you guys can do it. I know you guys can do it. Okay, so write your responses. Okay, now once you finish, you are done with this lesson. So good job, guys. Way to finish off week 1 of economics. Okay, so you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. All right.